Now let's take a look at some of the Azure Storage Queue capabilities from code using .NET. Here I have Visual Studio 2019. You can also use the free Community Edition. We will create a new solution and a test project to try out the client library connecting to Azure Storage Queues in our storage account. Go to File, New, Project, select Windows as Platform, then select Console App, .NET Framework, and click Next. I will give the project a name. I will call it Azure Storage Queues, and then give a solution a name, Learn Azure Storage Queues, and click Create. Once created, we need to add a few packages. From our solution, select Manage Naked Package for Solution, select Browse, and search online for Microsoft Azure Storage Queue. Select your project and click Install. This will install the Azure Storage Client library and its dependencies. Accept the license, and this will take a couple of minutes to install. The last package that we need to install is Microsoft Azure Configuration Manager. This package provides a class for parsing a connecting string in a configuration files, regardless of where your application is running. Accept the license. Once the installation is completed, I will close the Nugget solution. Next, let's determine our target environment. We have two environment options to work with. You can run your code against an Azure Storage account in the cloud, or you can run your code against the Azure Storage emulator locally on your machine. For this demo, I will run the code against my Azure Storage account directly in the cloud. In this case, you need to navigate to the Azure portal, locate your storage account. In Settings section of Storage Account, select Access Keys. Your account access key appears, as well as the complete connection string for each key. You need to find the connection string value under Key 1 or Key 2 and click the Copy button to copy the connection string. Now, the best way to maintain your storage connection string is in a configuration file. For this reason, we have installed the Configuration Manager package. To configure your connection string, you need to open the app config file from Solution Explorer in Visual Studio. And then you need to add the contents of the app settings element, and then add the key by replacing the connection string with the value you copied from your storage account in the portal. And then press Ctrl+Shift+S to save. Switch back to the program CS file and add the following four directives. The first one is the namespace for the console. Then the configuration manager to pull out the connection string from the app config. We also need to set the cloud storage account and the queue storage type namespace. Now we are ready to create our first queue. All the code in this demo should be added to the main method of your application console. First, we need to retrieve the storage account from the connection string. Then we create the cloud queue client. Then we set a reference to a queue and give it a name to be created. And finally, we tell it to create the queue if it does not already exist. Now press Ctrl+Shift+S to save, Ctrl+Shift+B to build, and then hit the Start button. Let's go to our Azure portal, go to our subscription, storage account, queues, and voila. There is our queue out there in Azure on Azure Storage. So what to do with the queue? If we have one, we can talk to it, we can send messages and receive messages. To add a message to my queue, I will add a loop to my main method that will open my console when I run my application and wait for me to enter a new message. This code will insert a message into an existing queue by first creating a cloud queue message, and then add the message by calling the add message method. Again, press Ctrl+Shift+S to save, Ctrl+Shift+B to build, and then hit the Start button. Now my console pop up and wait for me to add a new message. Select Yes. I will enter the first message. Hello, welcome to LinkedIn Learning and I will hit yes again. I will add a second message. Hello, welcome to Azure Storage Essential Training, and then select no. Let's go back to the Azure portal, select my queue, and there you go, the first message and the second one. Every message has an ID, a text, it tells us when it was added, and notice its expiration date. By default, every message can live up to 7 days before it gets discarded. It will not live forever. You can, of course, increase or decrease its duration. Let's now dequeue and delete a message by retrieving it first. We call the get message and then delete it by calling the delete message method. Let's run our test. Ctrl+Shift+S, Ctrl+Shift+B to build, and then click start. This time we'll not enter a message, so I will press no. Switch back to the Azure portal and hit refresh, and we can see that the first message that we added got deleted. Finally, we can delete a queue and all the messages contained in it by calling the delete method on the queue object. I will add the delete method. Again, press Ctrl+Shift+S to save, Ctrl+Shift+B to build, and then hit the start button. Switch back to the Azure portal, hit refresh, and we can see that the LinkedIn queue got deleted. In this demo, we have managed to create a queue, add messages to the queue, delete a message, and finally delete the queue. Now you are familiar with Azure Queue Storage using .NET. You can find more information in the documentation on how to write code with other languages such as Java, Ruby, and Python.